This off. Welcome everyone to January 13th Java operators meeting. Again, Happy New Year. I think we had one last week. I don't actually remember. It's all a blur already. I think we have a few topics that we're going to talk about today. They're not on the agenda yet, but that's fine. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll go from there. Oh, there it is. Big old green button. Sorry, I'm trying to find the actual window. Okie dokie. Do we have any new faces this morning or evening, depending on your part of the world?
Yeah, I think I can introduce myself. I'm Andrea. I'm from Italy, but I live in Portugal, and I'm developing the Keycloak operator.
Okay, welcome.
The what operator?
Keycloak.
Keycloak.
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm currently working on a new operator for the Strimsy project and looking at using Operator SDK to do it.
Awesome. Welcome, folks. Glad to see you. All right, we can go ahead and let's move back to next topic. So we've got Kate, Jen, and Andrea. Awesome. Any new or any community interest folks would like to talk about this morning? I think I saw one in the Java chat, which was finalizers, and then I think Attila had mentioned one in one of the Java operators Google chats about Slack channel.
Yes,
those are the
yes.
two.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the finalizer part.
I think it was Christoph that had mentioned something in the chat looking for comments on that issue. Let me go find it.
Okay. Yeah, I was on the other issue. Was thinking if it's possible to create on Kubernetes Slack. I'm kind of watching it quite often, especially the Kubernetes operators and channel about the questions and problems. And there are, I think there is a dedicated channel for control runtime and Kubernetes client, which is basically the analogy to our SDK and the Fabricate client. If we could have a creator channel for Java operator SDK there, I promise I will watch it. And answer questions.
I am not opposed to doing that. Is anyone opposed to doing that? We didn't do it initially because we didn't. We kind of took the stance of we will create these as we find that they are needed. And if there is a need, I think it makes sense to do.
Yeah, I think it will give more visibility to the project.
That's fair. Now the all-important, what do you want to call it?
Well, I mean, I have a concern about that. I don't want to multiply the communication channels because, I mean, that's another thing to be watching. So if we were to create such a more official channel for discussions, which I'm fine with, I mean, I think it's perfectly, I mean, for visibility purposes, it would be nice indeed to be on the Kubernetes Slack. However, then that means that we need to keep checking the Slack and then the Discord and the Google chat. So yeah, that's yet another channel to check. So I would rather that we consolidate the different communication channel into a single one so that it's not confusing for people. And it's also make it easier on us as well.
The Google one is just the internal usage, no? It's
It is.
actually,
It was only for Red Hatters, so that's not a great one.
yeah, to be honest, I always just open these when I have a notification from them. So it's, for me, it's no brainer to have more. But if you feel that it's too much and we should maybe close, I don't know, I still feel Discord is good, having there more like a design related stuff. And this is just really about the community questions.
Does anyone know about a bridge between Discord and Slack? I know that there are bridges between Discord and IRC.
Not sure.
I am not aware of any.
I bet there's got to be something, but I think it would be a good idea to have something on the Kubernetes Slack. However, I don't think that there's any problem with using the operator SDK dev channel or Kubernetes operators.
Okay, that's true. So we can post still questions and related stuff there on the Kubernetes operators and maybe releases, and you think it will be okay if you just post that, okay, Java operator SDK v2 was released, I posted to Kubernetes operators, and that should be,
Oh yeah,
I guess, fine.
that would be fine.
I did post the link for the official way to add a channel to Kubernetes if we do decide to change our mind.
So what if we Attila, start using the Kubernetes operators one for some of the Java stuff, and then see if it becomes either too noisy or inappropriate for, I guess, it's causing confusion or something, and then we can reconsider.
Yeah, that's completely fine with me.
Especially if now it's mostly user questions, maybe that will help. So yeah, go ahead. Was that you, Austin?
Yeah. So I'm looking at the community page, and it looks like not all of the communication channels are on there. So maybe could we get a PR to add the Discord server there? Currently, it says to use operator SDK dev.
Is that the operator framework one?
Yeah.
Community.
Or I put the link in the chat.
Oh, sorry. I see it now. Oh, okay. So you want to add the Discord link there to the contact information. Perfect. No, that makes sense.
And I think I think we should maybe think of like which ones of these are like sources of truth and which ones of these are like extra, like where we should probably, like if we have multiple communications channels, we should explain when to use each one. Is there like something that would be more appropriate for Discord than Slack or an email or something along those lines? Or are they all just sort of equal and we can all use them however?
If it was up to me, the source of truth would be the GitHub project, because it's it's more appropriate for community discussions. It's an open thing. It's completely asynchronous. You don't need to be on the channel, on the chat all the time and monitor it. So I think that's where most discussion should happen, I would say. But I understand that some folks prefer more interactivity, and sometimes it's indeed more appropriate. But overall, I feel that if we do a lot of discussions on the chats, for one thing, it's not really visible for people who are not on that chat. And the second thing is that it's not really trackable. Most of those tools are not really searchable, or at least not easily. And then you keep repeating the same answers to the same questions over and over, because basically you can't find those answers anymore. So I would really favor some kind of tool that allows, is really searchable, so that people can really find the answers they are looking for without having to talk to someone.
That sounds good to me. So, I guess what we do is we use these other communications channels for like quick discussion, but if there's anything important that comes out of it, it should be moved to GitHub, like an issue or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think too, just for clarifying something, I'm not sure that just doing everything under a GitHub issue is the best way, and just the quick questions. But definitely, if something pops up that is meaningful, it should be an issue then in GitHub.
I don't think we have to solve it all right now.
Yeah.
But we can open up the channels, see what sticks, and kind of let it grow organically.
So
The one problem with like Slack and Discord and anything that's like semi-asynchronous is that it does have, there are some, it favors some time zones. So-
where people might not be monitoring and the questions come in, and
Yeah, well, we want to be inclusive globally. So I do prefer something that's truly asynchronous, like a GitHub project or an email list, over Slack.
oh, I see what you mean. So what I'm hearing is that I heard a few things. One is, it sounds like creating a new Kubernetes channel right now is a no. Use Kubernetes operators in Slack as another venue for discussing for folks that are coming in from the Slack side. Post a link to the Discord that exists today on the community page, but these chats are secondary, and this real source of truth is the actual project, either through having an issue or documentation that's in the project. Is that kind of a summary?
I would add one more layer to that. So the GitHub is the single source of truth, and then anything that's important that's coming through the rest of the communications channels that isn't in the repo itself should probably go to the mailing list. And then below that, we've got the chats that are just kind of throwaway, immediate discussions.
Oh, I see what you mean. I see. So because mailing lists have a longer life and a little more it's not, what's the opposite of ephemeral? is really what I'm thinking. It's longer lasting, so okay, no, that makes sense. Oh, and I was supposed to also post that the link to the mailing list in here. I shared it this morning with folks. I'm going to put it in chat, but also in the agenda. Doc. That's just generic operator framework group list. Again, anything operator related is fine. Okay.
Does this group not have a mailing list separately?
No, because that was one of the first things we came up with to chat about, and the original, and we can revisit this decision was to use the operator framework for now as a global one, but we did not create a sub list to that.
That's right, my fault. I don't want to reopen that can of worms unless someone else cares.
And-
I forgot.
And I think the idea was to use that mailing list, and if it becomes becomes a burden because of increased traffic, either from other operator framework stuff causing confusion for the Java folks or vice versa, then we could split it off. Honestly, we haven't seen a lot of traffic on it from either side. So
I may be overthinking this problem as well. I mean, this group meets once a week. I don't think we're missing stuff.
no, I think this came up because I get the feeling that for added visibility, there's a lot of folks that are on Slack already for Kubernetes, and if they're involved in Kubernetes and trying to do Java, maybe there's no presence right now. I mean, some of us are over there, and I think that's maybe what, and Attila, you can correct me if I'm putting words in your mouth, why Attila thought having a presence on that side would be helpful. So I think if we communicate that we could use that channel for discussing some of this Java stuff, and then having a monitor, most of us are in there. I know I am. And if we see something Java related, we could communicate and kind of ensure that they get the answers and lead them to the projects and where the questions will all be answered and stuff like that, so they don't get ignored. So. All right.
Well, congrats everyone for getting through the tedious part of open source.
Well, thank you. Christoph, did you want to talk about anything finalizer related, or save that for a different time? This is regarding a Google Chat conversation or request.
I just created a GitHub discussion on the topic.
Okay. Okay.
So if in the project, so if people can take a look and maybe give their opinions there, that'd be great. I mean, we already chatted a little bit about the topic with Attila. And yeah, I think that's about it. And then I apologize, but I'm gonna have to drop soon. So
No, that's fine. Okay, that's good. I for some reason I did not realize it was a discussion link when I first clicked on it. I kept thinking it was a normal issue. But yes, so if folks want to participate there, as Christoph mentioned, there was a discussion that's being that was created, so we can feel free to add your comments and thoughts on it. I will go ahead and do that later today. Anything else anyone wanted to bring up?
There are some few new issues which is created by Andrea and
Okay.
others. I think we could take a look on those.
Okay.
Maybe from top to bottom. I think first 3 issues.
Okay, easy way to detect external modification to owned resources. Okay.
Andrea,
Why do you care who made it?
If the modification has been made outside and is not the desired, is very likely not to be in the desired state, so you need to be able to quickly detect it and restore the desired state.
how we are detecting it is the informers, and I think it's, as Jesus I think kind of suggested, we shouldn't care who did the modification. It should be always reverted.
Yes.
So that's why it's always a reconciliation loop, checks all the resources and for this stuff. By the way, okay, not sure. Yes, I forgot it. There is a kind of additional mechanism that on the server side applies, where you can define to some extent who controls which field in a custom resource. Maybe it's worth to take a look on that. Maybe that if you have some other thoughts or related to that, I don't know if it solves any problem, but in general, I think in all cases it should be reverted and applied according to the calculated deployment spec from the custom resource should be applied.
Yes, this is correct. So it should be reverted everything, but at the moment you don't have an easy way for detecting those changes. So you have to check field by field, or you have to check the name or the structure or something, but you don't have an out of the box, I don't know, JSON diff. We've excluded non-meaningful fields or whatever. We don't have any helper in this direction. That is
true. That is true. I will write it down. And basically, my thoughts is that the specs should be compared if it's equal or not.
Yes.
I mean, it's a deep equal. And yes, and there is annotations which might come into consideration in some cases. Because if you, for example, take a look how in Amazon load balancers on the EKS works, it's basically you control it by annotations sometimes what controller, if I remember it correctly, what control actually picks up the ingress, for example. It's somehow the annotations might have impact on that too, but in general the specs should be compared, and if they are not equal, it should be just applied a new one.
Yeah, probably even the metadata, labels and annotations, at least.
I'm not.
That. Okay. Fair. Let me say it should be in the hands of the user to control if it is a full check of the entire Kubernetes resource, or if you want to restrict it to some fields. But we can provide something that is better than what we have. That is now we have nothing, so you have to compare fields.
And by user you mean the operator author?
Correct.
Okay.
since this issue is in the Java operator SDK,
Yes.
the user of SDK is
Okay.
the operator router.
Yep. No, I can see. It sounds like what I'm hearing is that there is no utility methods to help you determine whether something's changed other than we've gotten an event and then having to do raw field comparisons. Is that what I'm hearing?
This is one possible implementation for the feature. Yes.
Okay.
I just didn't want to dig into the possible solution because it can have different ways of
Do you
implementing
feel
it.
that the Java equals method is kind of what we want here, or maybe just the simplest way to approach it? If somebody just implements the equals on the spec, it's good enough. If you generate it with IntelliJ, for example, I mean, then we can have maybe a better solution.
If you ask me my gut feeling, I would do a JSON diff over the desired state as opposed to the actual state in the cluster, and provide to provide the diff to the user, to the operator, to the operator, so that people can actually see which are the fields that have been modified and decide if they need to reconcile or not.
Okay.
But this is my good feeling, or my first,
Because
on top of my head.
we don't work with the JSON itself. We always work from the layer that it's already deserialized in the SDK.
Yeah. But it's easy to go back to JSON. Force them back.
Yes, but then it's less general to have the equals method, then you can even customize a little bit the behavior.
I actually
so
I have
you-
an issue with that, is that if you want to compare, you need to have the previous version. I mean, that means that you're not stateless anymore, and you're doing, I mean, it kind of goes against the Kubernetes philosophy where, okay, you get a state and you need to reconcile the whole world. That's the generic philosophy behind Kubernetes. So you shouldn't be aware of the previous state. So technically speaking, you shouldn't know the diff because
It's not the previous state, Chris. It's the actual state, what is on the server, and the calculated state from the current custom resource.
Correct. Is actual Kubernetes resource and desired.
Yeah, and the desired, yes.
I think that equals does have some drawbacks in the sense that it will be opinionated if you include, for example, labels and annotation, and I don't know how you can encode for example, different use cases in this case. But I'm not opposed about thinking about.
I have more like meant it for equals to the spec, not on the custom resource. But yes, so
yeah, but yes, is a deep equal. Yeah.
Okay, we can think about it how to very nicely support this other than the equals. I think equals feels like the first solution, and then yeah. Okay. By the way, I will document this what we spoke about, if you don't mind, in this issue.
Okay.
After the meeting.
I didn't want to put my raw notes in the GitHub, so I put them in that agenda doc.
Okay. Thanks.
Is this considered it's not a bug, more of an enhancement? And okay. Did you want me to assign it to you, Attila, or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay.
I forget your name starts with the C. Okay. 827, remove the ability to watch multiple namespaces.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty interested in your opinion, Jesus and Ish and others on the the Go side, closer to the Go side. So we have this feature to watch. If you start the controller, you can specify that I want to watch these namespaces, and it's a list of namespaces.
Mhm.
But it doesn't really work together how the informers now are configured and things like that. So I thought it would be a good idea just simplify it, just either watch one namespace or all the namespaces. Then you have always just one informer. And pretty much from our side, everybody agreed that this is okay from the users who's writing the operators. Not sure how this works in control runtime.
I'll have to look to verify, but I know we support all three. We support all namespaces. We support a single namespace, and we support multiples. I want to say it's creating multiple informers, but I'd have to confirm on that. Because when we set up the manager when the manager is set up, we can tell it which namespaces, and one of the options I remember is a list of them. So it could be a subset, like here are the three.
I mean, it's implemented this way. The problem is then if you, for example, you create a deployment from your reconciliation loop, and even the informers which are watching the deployments should be then multiple informers for each deployment, for each namespace. And this is something then that the users have to take care about with the current programming model. And that's not very nice. Also, there is no abstraction about these multiple informers. So it's complicated things if there is multiple namespaces watches. But something that if it's, maybe we can, I can post it also in the Kubernetes operators and see what's coming out from there, or in the control runtime channel, and if it's heavily used. And
that's another place to have it, to ask that question. But I took a note so I can get you an answer.
Okay then. Thanks.
Yep. There was another one here. I think this was another one from Andrea. Tight up the integration with extra event sources.
Yeah. So basically, the idea behind this issue is the fact that we can define extra informers, so watchers for extra resources, but those are completely unmanaged in the sense that no RBAC roles are created for those in the automatic generation of a Quarkus SDK, and the object itself is not super intuitive, or is not really great the access, how you access it into the main reconcile loop. You have workarounds, but it's not something that is provided out of the box.
Yes, absolutely. This is, I think Griffith's here, it's still here, then he will probably chip in that the dependence resources feature, which we didn't want to put in 2.0 because it will be quite a big stuff. We'll have there's a plan to do this much more intelligently. The only problem I see with that so we put partially these get associated methods onto the context, which we already see a problem with, that now it doesn't support list, but probably we'll fix it in 2.1 or something. It will be just a very minor API change or additional method, maybe. The thing is that I'm a little bit concerned again with that we have these two APIs and mixing the dependent resources. So this and the current API, we will discuss that, but those methods should come with that and actually should be much easier to manage these Kubernetes resources. with those. But you are right that we should have an abstraction layer about the accessible resources managed by the informers or managed. It shouldn't be actually just informers. It should be kind of a concept of a managed resource, and that is basically a dependent resource.
Yeah, let's say that the stopgap will be to document what we have and how is possible to actually go through those things and then possibly to offer a better user experience.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I don't know if something like this exists in Go side, but I saw it's always the informers are accessed directly in the cache of the informers. We'll take a look on that if how is there, but yes, for we need definitely this high level concept of dependent resource, which will take care of this basically.
So maybe I'm misunderstanding something. So with your resource, okay, get secondary resource.
So we can now query the event sources for their cache, but the concern is that it's not very elegant. Basically, we are already solving it with this get secondary resource that if some of the event sources is managing the deployment, for example, then give me the deployment. And you just say that this is the class I'm looking for. I'm looking for the deployments we are managing, and it will return the managed deployments. And basically, it doesn't matter if it comes from which informer or something. It will just list the target deployments. So it's a kind of convenient methods or convenient interface to access these.
Okay. Okay. Who should get that one? Or do we leave it unassigned? Or is there a milestone project that you wanted to align this to?
It won't come with the events. When we are going to work on event sources, we are also going to take a look on this. So it's, not sure if it project.
I think you only had the two roadmap.
We can hit in the first project, the project.
How meta. Okay. Returning.
And this is the related, one of the issues with a much more concrete step forward is that the associated resource, which is now returning an object, like if you are managing the deployment and there is a deployment event source, then we have a way to say that I want a deployment from this event source. But actually I don't think we want that. To be more optimal, we want to, for one type of resource, one informer. That is how actually Luca and others using it. And then basically, if there are more deployments, then we should have just returned all of them with these convenience methods or utility methods. So this is basically a very concrete improvement point to have it return a list from the associated resources. By the way, select a good name. It's sometimes associated, sometimes secondary, sometimes dependent resources. But for your information, this means the same, basically.
Okay.
That the resource that we are managing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can assign this to me. I will try to take a look sooner.
Let's see here. We've got a couple more. No adapter available for apps API group client.
Hey. Sorry,
I guess he didn't like this bug.
not at all.
This is very strange. It was a bug in the early versions of Fabricate client, or earlier versions, and it doesn't make sense. So in a
Oh, like earlier than 2?
no, it's not in our code. This
Well,
is
it's in
definitely-
Fabricate.
It's in Fabricate, and it was in Fabricate 4. I don't know, 9, something like this. Now it's 5.12. So I asked more information, basically, if it's here. It seems to be like if somebody's overriding the Fabricate client or something, then this might cause it. We have a bunch of end-to-end and integration tests. If this would be an obvious bug in our code, then it would be a popped up because it's the trivial case what is solved in the code.
I say we leave that one open till they respond.
Mhm.
And if there's an action item, we can assign it. Apply CRDs on startup of operator. Okay, CRDs can be generated by.
I'm not sure I agree. In the sense that if the CRD is already present, you might have problems into checking if it is the same or it can be upgraded. And if you try to remove the old CRD, you run into a lot of troubles.
I think this is just for development purposes, no? Or that you mean, Andrea, or even that context?
I understood it as their request was from development.
But yes, the development experience. I'm not sure how it would be done with Maven, and it is in Quarkus. I think this is already there.
Well, the implementation is trivial. You know which is the custom resource that you need to handle, the CRD, sorry, that you need to handle, and you can check if it is already present and try to create it. The problem is that if you change, for example, the group of your CRD, you won't be able to detect the old installed one and just be able to create the new one. So if this is for development, fine, but I'm not sure it's a great idea in general.
Yeah, in general, I'm pretty sure it's not. Yeah, I mean, even the real life clusters is not. This is how the CRDs are managed in a completely different phase, I would say, when the operators are deployed. It's at least we did it when I worked on these platform teams. Everywhere it was like you apply the CRD, then you maybe deploy the operator, but it's usually for development purposes. It's interesting how to do it. Maybe on startup you flag it that this is a development now in environment variable, then we could implement as a method in the start of the operator. But then even that is not a very good. Maybe some bit hooks on the operator, or I don't know. It's I mean, definitely doable some way, just not sure if it where's the hassle. In Quarkus, I think it's different because you know that you are in a development environment-ish work of doing things. So it's obvious how to hook it.
I mean, and it looks like they have a simple workaround for Gradle. So if that's what they're using, then folks could easily do something like that. This is the type of thing that, like, if you were doing this in Go, you'd probably just add it to your makefile, or you would have a script for development that you're using to auto apply these, and it only affects you when you're writing the operator. but during the actual operation and how it's working, like you mentioned, they're done separately.
Yeah, actually the Gradle, this is the Makefile version of doing it in Gradle, I guess. I don't know. It's actually more than that because it's hooks on the compiling phase. But even that is, I don't know if it's a good thing in general.
I mean, Fabricate exposes an API for managing CRDs, so you don't need kubectl apply, but you can directly reference the CRD that we have as a Kubernetes resource in Java, but still all the rest of the concerns remain.
Yeah. But so we generate the CRD in the target, and we should somehow hook on some. I mean, if you can do it in IntelliJ. So IntelliJ, when you're running the project, you can just put there a step to apply the CRD. And that is basically the same that here it is done with this task. I'm not sure this is, I would put it in the operator framework itself. I mean,
it seems like something we can document on or advise in terms of tips on how to do this, but not necessarily put it in the framework itself.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that this one, what we should do is probably respond and then maybe close it out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add me and I'll ping Christoph too, because he had already started responding. To keep track of this one.
May I say something about that?
Yes.
I'm using the JUnit extension and for testing purposes, and this is what exactly it does. So it is also replicated there, that it tries to apply all the CRDs that are in a certain folder. I don't know exactly why it is hard-coded, but yes, it is doing exactly the same.
Yes, it is hard-coded because it's hard-coded in Fabricate client, or at least this is the default. The class is Java Meta in Fabricate or something like that. That's why it's hard-coded there. It's always in that same directory, the CRD, which I generated. I'm not sure even. Okay, so that's true. So the JUnit extension is doing this, but that's for JUnit, for unit testing and integration testing, and for development purposes, I don't know. I don't have any good idea where to hook on this to make it first differentiable if this is a production or development environment or context. And that's one thing. The other is that, okay, even it's, basically this, how to hook on this nicely and see and make the differentiation if this is, that this is not a, if it is a JUnit, we know it's a JUnit because we are running it with JUnit runner. But if you are running the operator from IntelliJ or from just command line or anything, building from Java, you don't know if this is a production environment or a development. Maybe if we just say that, okay, if there is an environment variable and that says that Java operator SDK environment dev, then we can somehow hook on it, so some part, but I still don't know where exactly. so not pretty sure not in the operator class itself or in the or where exactly in the source code. It would be the nicest way to do this.
In any case, at least with the Quarkus extension, well, if I'm not wrong, that's not exactly the folder where the CRDs are located when they are generated.
In the Quarkus extension moves the generated thing to the target Kubernetes. But
Exactly.
If you keep using the original Kubernetes client APT, they are generated in this precise location. So you just need to add an extra dependency to have this behavior again.
Yeah, that's why I mean it shouldn't be hard-coded in any case. At least it's what I have in the JUnit extension, that it is hard-coded, and now it is not loading anything just because there is nothing there.
We can speak about it after, but you just needed to add the apt CRD generator dependency, and you can restore this exact behavior. So probably it will work. We can catch up later, Jonathan.
Okay. Let's see. Provide Gradle sample projects.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how flexible you want to be. I mean, to me, by saying that Gradle can be used, I would assume that means that we've kind of been preferring Maven, but if you want to use Gradle as your choice of building, it is not a blocker for you to use the Java Operator SDK framework. Or I guess I should say that we don't preclude or exclude Gradle, but I don't know if you want to get into the business of having to offer full-on samples that use Gradle, other than maybe, hey, here's how you add your dependency for us.
Yeah, this is, in my opinion, what we could do is put in one of our samples or end-to-end, or one of our samples, basically a Gradle file, Gradle build working, and that is maybe executed also during the build process, a separate step in GitHub, that we make sure it actually works. And that's it. I mean, nothing else could be done. He is right that Gradle is also used, probably a little bit less than Maven, I'm not sure. But somebody who uses Gradle, I think it should be quite trivial to set this up based on a Maven configuration. What we could do is, yeah, as I said, put them also Gradle build file, set up a Gradle project or Gradle descriptor file there, and make sure it works in one of our samples.
Hey, I just want to mention a quick time check in case there's any like
Thank you.
final things that we want to get in the meeting. Yeah.
Yes, we got 3 minutes remaining. Is there anything, any PRs or anything that folks wanted to cover?
Maybe multiple CRDs.
Was that an issue or just a topic?
It was an issue, I think. It was a very old issue. I will send it to you. I reopened it. Here in the chat. It's a two-digit issue, so it's yes. So this is basically, we agreed that we would like to support to some extent 2 versions of the within a CRD, and it's not hard to support it, or we are basically just explicitly forbid it on the previous discussions. But if we are going to support it, we have to make end-to-end tests, and at least one test which is working, and that requires a conversion hook, which is another thing to implement. And so it's not something for 1 or 2 hours probably to test and develop. So that's why I probably won't go into the version 2.0, but version 2.1. But we will, support. One thing to mention, if I understand this correctly, the multiple versions of a custom resource is supported by this API with this conversion hooks, but I'm not sure if you can filter on it, right? Do somebody has experience with this? I don't. That if you want to, if you can say to Kubernetes API that give me the custom resources is version 2, they are always converted if there is a conversion hook. So you always get all the resources. If you ask for V1 or V2 of you always get it. It's just converted with the conversion hook. Is this correct?
Conversion webhooks are built on top. They are not something that Kubernetes provide out of the box.
Yes, yes.
If you provide them, you can decide which one.
Yes,
But
so
I think that by default, if you have two versions, Kubernetes will, if there is no conflict, will upgrade directly and automatically to the latest version. So
Yes,
you will get the latest if there is no conflict. So that's automatic, and you don't have to do anything to do that.
You can ask for an older one. But so the interesting question here is how would you, if you have two controllers, you have somehow differently asks, so should have kind of a mutually exclusive. So we are mostly talking about the canary releasing here. If you want to upgrade operator, you want to release a V2, you first want to test it with some of the custom resources which are on V2. Let's say you have a stored version in V1, but you have a conversion hook that updates if you desire to V2. And with the first controller, you still manage the standard V1, and with a new controller, the V2, but only you want to manage in the first place only some of them. And you cannot say basically to API that, okay, give me the custom resources with V2. It's not how it works. You have to either label it or basically label it that give me the custom resources in V2 with these labels, and the other controller should work to give me the custom resources with V1 without these labels. So I guess this is how it should work with some canary releasing. But I'm guessing I didn't try it yet.
So are you saying like in the V2, you only want to get the V2 CRs and not the converted the other converted ones? Because you would, in my understanding, that second controller will get everything.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I'm saying, that it will get everything. So if you want to have a middle step just to testing the operator with the selected custom resources, then we have to use labels.
Yes, something that you can filter those out.
Yeah. Yes.
But in any case, if you filter out which is the CR, so which are the fields that you are going to get?
You can say that. You can ask for V1 or V2, but it's only stored in one version. And then
that's what I mean.
Yes, and that you can customize that. There is a way to, in the custom resource definition, you can say that which version it's stored. And if there are, and then the conversion happening with a conversion webhook, you have to implement. But the problem is not even that. The problem is that the case what we are talking about with Andrea is a development process when you have a new operator, but you want to test it first, maybe on some subset of the resources. And that is, for that you need not need just this functionality, you need to properly label it and label the resources and everything. Just to basically articulate this, that this won't solve all the problems.
Yes, but what I mean is that if you have two versions, yes, one thing is that you care about specific CRs and then you label them. That's one thing. That could be even not changing the version. So you want that this controller takes care of specific CRs with some labels, and you could have all the CRs in the cluster with the same version. So this is one thing. But the other thing is that with versioning on CRDs, if you have version 2 that has 10 fields and version 1 that has 20 fields, how many fields will you get when you get a CR in the controller?
I think it depends on which one you ask for. If you ask for
If you
V2, you get all of those. If V2 had 20, you get all 20. If V1,
No.
go ahead.
No, V2 have 10.
Okay, you get 10 in V2.
You have 10 in V2, so you will get the real fields of each version. This is
Yes.
what you mean.
That is my understanding.
And if I introduce a breaking change, so V1 has, I don't know, my field is string, and in V2, my field is a list. If I ask for V2, I will get a list. If I ask for V1, I will get a string.
Yes.
I believe that is how it works. But
no, visualizer blows up. The deserializer blows up.
No, but it doesn't blow up because there is a different different representation for different controllers. So you can make it work with it will be a different custom resource.
Correct.
The problem is when you are not able to do conversion hooks because there is such a data change or in the data structure that you don't have the information for or where to get the information for the conversion hook. But I guess that's a different problem and very specific for an operator. Also, the conversion hook can read data from the server itself, so it's not just isolated or not all the information it has. It's not just the input and output, but it can query the API server for additional information. But I think that's the hard part, actually, the conversion hook. So, yeah. But eventually, the stored version should be the V2, and after next phase, you'll probably want to even remove the V1 and have after it's put in the production the V2.
Okay. We are over time, and if we would like to continue this particular discussion next week, we can start off with that. If not, I have another community meeting to jump to. So thank you everyone for your time.